All right, cool. I'm good to go.
Yep,
And
I think
I'll
I am too. I have enough coffee.
you do you have a cutoff for drinking coffee?
Yes, and we're just past it.
Okay.
There's the 9 a.m. through 10 a.m. That would be
Mm-hmm.
two 4 ounce, like kind of Americano style things.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the 4 p.m. to about 5:30. You can get two more in there.
Oh,
Around
interesting.
around six is about where I stop, unless there's some task like a rock concert to perform.
Okay.
You know,
And so is it the same
live.
amount again for the rock concert?
Uh, well, that really depends on when you're on site. There's all these different
Sure.
variables. I mean, what
Right.
how is the coffee being delivered? You know,
That's true.
I mean,
Is there a such thing as bad coffee?
sure,
Okay.
sure, there is.
Okay.
Um, I would suggest that there's a lot of just regular drip coffee makers in the backstages of the
Sure.
world that have stuff in it that's been around for a very long time.
Yeah, rocket fuel.
You know, some
Um,
things are better than others.
I have just off of I guess my camera's fixed, but I have a pour over setup here in the studio, and I've recently had to get a smaller Chemex because I found that with the larger one, I will just continually just keep making coffee, and I won't stop.
Yeah,
So
the patience of the for the pour over is a little much for me. I just can't wait. I do
it's
the I have this 5-year-old brawn thing
okay.
that you put beans in and it grinds the beans for each, I'm gonna push a
Oh,
button, grinds the beans, does the shot.
oh, I didn't know anything like that existed. To be honest with
Yeah.
you.
I mean, if you want to get nerdy about it, it's like, well, the pressure's not exactly right. That's fine. But I'm not a barista. I'm just a man at home trying to have, coffee. So
I was a simple coffee drinker up until I think about a year and a half, 2 years ago, where Mike Squires was like, "You can't. No, just don't. Let me give me your address. Let me just send you some things." And he sent me a Chemex thing for Christmas. He sent me a scale. He sent me a really nice grinder, which I still use. And he insisted that I at least have the same amount of coffee and measure it out every day, and gave me the tools to do so.
well, first of all, there's a nice fella right there.
Very nice fella.
Uh, and also it makes sense. I mean, if you're going to do it right. The
I
measurement
agree.
is key. Surprisingly, I have a number of friends who own coffee shops, you know,
Hey, that's
because
convenient.
I, and I've learned a lot about precision measurement is the key to success, to consistent success, is what I
Yeah,
can.
I don't measure per se. I have 3 scoops, and I make sure the scoops are even and level, and that's the amount, and it's pretty dialed, and then I just go for it.
Well, it's
Um,
good that you're not running a business because someone from Amsterdam is going to come in and complain because your grain count was wrong and they could taste it. So be
Dude,
careful.
there are people. It's funny. There's a lot of similarities. I have a buddy, Jake, who runs a coffee company here in Seattle called Anchorhead, and he used to be a touring front of house guy for a long time, and decided to get out of the touring game. And him and his partner started Anchorhead, and there are a lot of similarities between, I guess, this with anything, bicycles, coffee, and
Sure.
guitars. There
Yeah.
are those people, the keyboard warriors, that love to say, "Oh, well, there's a taste difference in whatever the silly thing is." I always hear those things, and I think, "Oh man, you just when you think the guitar musician bubble has that."
Well, if you think tone is subjective, try taste. I mean, the
God,
whole, the playing field is completely different. I mean, at least there's the accepted understanding that
yeah,
we all think the guitars sound good on Back in Black. We all understand that
yes,
that is a true thing.
yes.
Coffee, who knows what you're tasting? Hints of vanilla? How do I know?
Do
What's your genetic makeup?
how? Yeah, how do you take your coffee?
Black.
Bravo.
I mean, yeah, I'm not.
Bravo. You're not a monster.
No, I'm not insane.
I will sometimes have a dollop. It's a technical term. I will have a dollop of oat milk sometimes, depending on if it's like really, really dark, but otherwise it's black.
Yeah.
So
I don't dollop. I'm pretty hardcore with the whole black thing, but that's because I didn't know what good coffee was until I stopped drinking coffee with tons of shit in it. And it was kind of this revelation, like, oh my
yes,
God, I've been drinking this horrible coffee because it's full of half and half and sugar and it doesn't matter. I
yes.
could, it's like cop coffee. And then I kind of I got turned on to the real thing and I realized, oh God, I have to atone for decades of this coffee abuse.
And similar to, I think, in the food world, I knew a promoter, a venue owner in the area many years ago. He made what I would consider one of my favorite pizzas back when I ate pizzas. He would spare no expense on the ingredients, and he would take his time and make these like wonderful dishes of these wonderful pizza pies. And even in the line of thought of, he once told me, but every once in a while, a $5 Little Caesar is fucking great, isn't it? And in that same line, every once in a while, a really shitty drip coffee at a truck stop really hits the spot.
I agree. There's always,
There's a time and a place.
there's a time and a place. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I guess we've already gotten started talking about coffee.
Sure.
Brian Baker, thank you so much for hanging out. I thought we would nerd out a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. My pleasure. It's fun to be here. I've watched your show in the past.
Thank you. Wow, that's amazing. I got recently. So I got a reissue Silver Jubilee, and the crux of me finally contacting Marshall for one was when I do string changes or any kind of maintenance, I like to put on live YouTube video of a show or whatever it was. And one of my favorite live shows on YouTube is the Battle Religion at Rock 'em Ring in 2018, I believe.
2018?
I think it was 2018. You guys sound so damn good. I mean, you always sound good, but like that particular show, everything was so spot on, and I'm pretty sure you were using Silver Jubilees.
Right.
And I was like,
let's make sure the year is 2018 before I speak to this.
Okay, wait. You know what? I'm gonna. I have it right here. Hang on. Battle Religion, Rock 'em Ring. It was 2018. It was 2018.
You know anybody who puts a couple silver jubilees up on stage and is playing out of a couple Kempers behind them?
I mean,
I know a guy just like that.
I've seen your rig rundown.
Yeah.
And I know. Were you using the Kempers back in 2018?
I think so.
Okay.
I don't know. This pandemic has screwed everything up.
Okay.
I don't know for sure.
I don't
but I
think
think
you
that
were.
was the turning point.
Okay.
I'd have to, we'd have to pause all this so I could figure out when I actually
No, it's okay.
bought the Kemper in the first place. But I think that that's what it is. But for the purpose of this discussion, I'd love to talk about those Silver Jubilees you saw, because I have used them for decades. Well,
long time,
as long
right?
as they've existed.
Yeah. Okay. So I was going to thread a needle here a little bit, and we will get to the Silver Jubilees. But starting with Minor Threat, obviously when you went over to guitar, were you playing? Was that a JMP that I see in?
Oh, no, that was a Kemper too. So I know it seems impossible,
that was a Fractal,
but
it was.
I couldn't get a deal from Fractal. They said I was too young because it was 1980 and I was a teenager.
It was a JMP. What it looked like? Maybe. What was it?
The first. It would have been a JMP, like a late master volume JMP, 100-watt, probably like a 78 or 79, like something right on. That's what we had.
Okay.
The other guitar player had one of those. So when we went to a 2-guitar band, I would have had the same. I would have looked for the same amp.
Okay. That was the Gibson Les Paul, looked like a standard with some DiMarzio Super Distortions or something like that.
Deluxe, a cut deluxe with super distortion, always.
Okay.
I had one that was cherry that was really good because it was a cherry sunburst, but it was probably, at the time I didn't know, but it was probably like a 74 because it had the maple. I'm sorry, it had the rosewood neck.
Okay.
It was great.
What? And I'm assuming you don't have that guitar anymore.
Oh God, no, no. I don't have any of the
That's okay.
rent,
Yeah,
life,
eating.
food.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, so within Dag Nasty, I saw footage of SG. You were
yeah.
primarily using Gibson SG, and I saw a video that you were using a Strat, like maybe one
The
show or something like that. Look like.
Yeah, at the very beginning of Dag Nasty, I had a Schecter Strat that was made in
Oh,
'84.
oh, okay.
A really early Schecter Strat, and the headstock was still the Fender headstock. It was
Wow.
probably, it was probably really cool. I had it because I was also in this band called the Meatmen in this era,
Okay.
and I uh, I was playing a Kramer like with a Floyd on it because this was kind
Wha-
of a performance art sort of joke metal band.
Okay.
Um, and I guess I don't know why, but I just was like, I kind of just got into that body shape. Um, and like
Cool.
all these guitars too, there's no thought in them when I'm that young. It's that like I'm taking a guitar to my friend's store to be fixed. And while I'm dropping it off, there's something on the wall that looks cool. And I'm like, well, I'll just take this instead and you can have this, and not really thinking it
Sure.
through. And
Sure.
the Strat was probably, I mean, I don't recall like wanting to find a black Schecter Strat. I think,
Those early Schecters were great. Your bassist Jay had an old
yeah,
Schecter bass, did he not?
still does. Yeah.
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 Okay. Those were
Uh,
awesome.
yeah. I mean, I didn't know what I had. I wish I had it
Yeah.
now. It'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be
But
cool.
yeah, it was cool. But it only lasted a short period of time. I went back to Gibson stuff once Dag Nasty. I think it might have been our first show that I had that Strat,
Okay.
first or second. Um, and then I went back to normal.
And then you went back to the normal. It was looked to be you had a couple of different Les Pauls into
Yep.
some 800s in Junkyard, I believe.
Um, yeah, and I mean, yeah, Dag Nasty and Junkyard. It was a combination of SG or Les Paul, and Dag Nasty. I'm gonna say might have been the JMP still. Junkyard definitely 800 because when I joined Junkyard, I bought two full stacks,
Cool.
JCM 800 full stacks. They gave us kind of
Yeah.
the baby band deal.
Yeah.
And the whole rest of the band was playing Carvin, the stuff that's, kind of furry, like the inside of a freight elevator.
Yeah, it looks like the X series heads or something like that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And at the time I was like, I'm not going to be having that. I'm not playing an amp with a graphic on the front of it. But, now I know that those actually might sound good. At the time I was just a kid. So,
Yeah. Do you remember so for me, when I was younger, I remember I had two like I think they were Randall half stacks, and I had a volume pedal for my channel switching, and that was it. I don't ever recall being that super into gear until a little later. Was that same case for you? Were you like a kind of a gearhead even really early on?
not really. I didn't really get interested in gear until probably about 8 years ago, 8 or 9 years ago. I mean, I
Wow.
just kind of was a diehard serviceable Marshall head that came from the factory
Yeah.
with a preamp knob and a Gibson guitar with a DiMarzio Super Distortion in it. And I had pedals, but just like I didn't care what they were. It was like I used to run pedal boards just to try to emulate parts of songs as they sounded on records. But
I see.
I didn't hunt down the good chorus. I just had like, oh, here's an MXR chorus that's been in my
I
mom's
see.
house. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of the stuff wound up being, now that I look, on Gear Page and stuff, it's like I had all this stuff that's apparently really cool, but I mean, I got it when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So I never nerded out with pedals.
I was never into pedals either. I had an uncle who had basically I when I had a paper route, I was 14 years old or 13 years old, and I bought his old rig, and he had a couple of pedals, and eventually I traded those pedals away. I now know, excuse me, that I traded away a first generation Thomas Oregon wah pedal and a first generation two-knob Boss PH1 phaser, which are both of which are worth a ton of money. These things were like brand new, and he'd bought them brand new in the 70s. I traded them for like baseball cards and like a brand new Boss tuner or something.
Yeah, this is everyone's story. I really wish
True.
I hadn't, I had those three original Klons that I just used to jack up my car, and I wish I hadn't done that.
To level out the pool table. Can you turn the volume up a little bit more to get it a little bit?
Yeah. Okay, there we go. There, that's good.
Yeah.
No. You can tell that that's a clone. No, you need to. The table's going to need the real, gold Archer, whatever.
You need a true bypass switch because it's sturdier to hold up the table. Yeah. So the thread that I was trying to get at is you have done, you've been in a whole bunch of bands, starting with Styx and the Grand Illusion tour. No, I'm just kidding.
Thank you. That's my best work.
I love Mr. Roboto. You have done a ton of different bands, a ton of different genres with essentially a close approximation of the same setup from band to band. What is it about either and or the Les Gibson Marshall combination for you that just works?
It's not broken. And I also, from band to band and genre to genre, I just play the same all the time anyway. I mean, I'm kind of like a one-trick pony, I don't, I kind of just sound like me.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm used to hearing. Like, I have other stuff, and in a studio situation, I love, especially guided by someone really talented, and they're putting me in all these little different small tweed amps, and I'm playing instruments whose names I've never heard of and stuff. That's always fun. But when it comes to live, it's just what I'm used to.
Okay.
And I'm really old now, so I'm not going to change.
When you entered the picture with like Bad Religion stuff, obviously there had been years of material and like established guitar tones from record to record, and I believe those were mostly 800 bass plexi based. Also,
I don't know really what was going on. Brett had a lot of I was fulfilling the Brett role.
Okay.
And Brett played when he had a Tom Anderson, like a Super Strat, a really early one.
And he had a VHT Pitbull stack, I believe.
Yeah, he had all this stuff. I mean, he's more of a gear nerd than I was.
Yeah.
And I can't really speak to what they were doing in the 80s, but I'm familiar with kind of what was happening in the couple of years before I joined. And what I did is I just came in, and at that time I really didn't have a lot of gear.
Yeah.
And so if I'm not mistaken, I think I bought 2 Marshall heads, 2 cabinets, and I got 2 black SGs. That's awesome. I just went, okay.
All right, let's go.
Here I am. I didn't even think about what Brett had. I remember that Greg Graffin asked me early on, I think before he even played a show, if he asked me if I could play a Strat. And I said, well, I can play a Strat, but I'm going to play.
I want to play.
I'm going to play an SG for this. And I didn't really think about why, but what in his head, he's like, well, Brett was holding a Strat-shaped guitar, and so he was not, he wasn't trying to tell me what to do. He was just thinking like, well, maybe that would help me. And I don't think he knew the difference between a Strat and a Tom Anderson with a screaming Lynx pickup.
Right.
And it hand wound by the guy in Sweden. I don't think he, was thinking that far into it.
I unbelievably, he replied. I actually randomly tweeted at Brett about 2 months ago, and my first introduction to Bad Religion was the Stranger Than Fiction record when I was 14. Yep. And I asked him like, what was that guitar tone? And he replied, it was his plexi, unmodified plexi on 10 into a Marshall Power Break into a Greenback 412. That's great. That's the tone. And I was like, wow.
But you know what that sounds like? That sounds like a great tone.
Right.
It makes complete sense.
That makes complete sense. And then I made the mistake of going and getting a plexi from Marshall, and it was just too damn much without any kind of attenuation. It was just, holy hell. It was just the loudest damn thing I've ever heard in my life. but then I got the Jubilee. So, what I was going to ask you was there was a couple of, I believe, so it was 97, the 97 Gray Race Tour. It appears that you and Greg were given a couple of rectifiers that you guys toured with.
Yeah. And I was doing one rectifier and one Marshall.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I don't remember. I think Greg Hetson was doing the same thing.
Yes.
And I know we did get them. They gave them to us. And they were fine. They just don't sound as good as Marshalls.
Yeah.
What I liked about them initially was that you could saturate them more, because I was not running.
Sure.
I had nothing in front of any of my amps ever, like until much later. And so I was just like, okay, I have a super distortion and a preamp on 10 on a JCM 800 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And we all know that that's like right at the edge of having, it's easier to play if it's a little dirtier than that.
Yes.
And especially single note stuff. And so this rectifier did that. And then I would play them together, and it kind of, I like playing two amps at the same time always in any chant, it just does something.
Yeah.
And so it was useful for that, but eventually it just kind of fell out of favor because it's just a little too, it sounds like a Mesa dual rectifier. I mean, no offense, but that's a different,
Yeah.
totally different thing. And I kind of just left it in storage, and then I eventually sold it.
Yeah. I don't like rectifiers at all, but definitely do not look over in this direction of the room at all.
Oh yeah, look at those rectifiers stacked up there.
I collect really early ones, the really, really, really early ones that are a little different than probably the ones that you guys had. I think you guys had Revision Gs, and these are like the super early 80s sounding. Anyway, these like have the more mid-rangey, they're not as scooped. Anyway, you guys sounded fantastic regardless. I saw you for the first time in 1998, the 98 Warped Tour. I believe you were back on Marshalls at that time.
Probably. Yeah.
I think you were. What? Do you remember what Marshalls you were running? Like, was it? I think it was an 800 and looked like a JMP or something.
I had for a lot of the time, I still have them. I have a white JCM 800. That's the best JCM 800 I've ever had in my life. And I bought that sometime in the 90s from a friend of mine. God, those were the great days too. It was like a half stack for like $400.
Oh,
It's just brilliant. So nice. And then I still have a JMP 100 watt that just has it. And these are, I record with these still. And I was just touring with them. And that was probably what you saw, because that was essentially what I was rolling until the 2000s, towards the end of the 2000s, when I got into these, the hand-wired plexi stuff.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds
So
right.
there's a good guess that what you heard was those two heads that the white 800 and the JMP.
I've seen you guys, I think, I don't know, probably 7-8 times, and you guys always sound so dialed as far as your guitar tones. Up until he was in the band, did you and Greg ever consciously talk about, like, maybe I'll sound like this and maybe I'll sound like this? Was that front of house guy maybe dialing in some things? Or does it just a couple of cranked up Marshalls just will always sound great?
Yeah, I mean, Greg and I didn't talk about tone or who's doing what. It wasn't really that. Greg is more of a meat and potatoes guitar player who's just, it's the same thing. He just likes what he has.
Yeah.
I think that, a lot of credit goes to our front of house guy, who is the same guy we have right now that we had every time you saw us.
Oh, wow.
Who's been with us. He joined the band right when I did. So having somebody, first of all, he's great, but he's also been there the whole time. I mean, if you want to, that's a huge deal to be able to have that kind of consistency.
Yeah.
So I give him most of the credit, because also, he's got us in the EQ chains or not. He's doing stuff. He's putting us in different places. I mean,
sure.
Who knows?
Yeah,
who knows what you're hearing? I know I don't.
Right. And you are now on in-ears, correct?
Yeah.
That's cool. me and my band just got on in-ears, and it's been like, oh, wow, we can hear everything, or I can hear what I want to hear, as opposed to
Right.
a general wash of
Yeah,
everything.
of course, my in-ears are the worst mix in the world. They're so selfish. It's stupid. It's just my guitar, Graffin's voice, my voice, and a snare drum.
That's fine. Come on.
That's it.
That's
I
not
can't,
selfish.
I have no idea what is going on anywhere else. And the other two guys, Jay and Mike, are not on ears. So they're still like just soaking in this
The vibe.
glorious ambiance of all these different things. And,
Yeah.
and I'm just missing all of it, just quietly sitting there, like overanalyzing whether I'm in tune or not.
You guys, I really enjoyed the Decades shows. Those were
Thanks.
phenomenal. They sounded great. Was that a chance for you to kind of maybe break out some fun little toys guitar-wise? Or did you just stick to what you would normally be touring with mainly?
No, I mean, I messed around a little bit, but I was limited because I had, I mean, I live in New Jersey and all of our stuff is in LA.
Oh, of course.
But most of my guitars are here in New Jersey. So I know I went through everything that was in LA on purpose. Like I just because it was like, well, why not? I can
Sure.
play this Black Les Paul custom that I never really use, but I can use it here
Yeah.
because it's, it's TV.
We can stop if it goes out of
mix.
tune. It's fine.
Yeah. So I did, I mean, I tried to change the guitars up a bit, but by the second Decades sessions, I just kind of played what was there. Fortunately, Mike showed up with this insane Ibanez Destroyer that was the highlight of the second series of Decades. Is this 76 Destroyer.
So
cool.
sick. That's
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah.
I really like that. So moving on, I want to talk a little bit about your guitar selection for a given tour. I know you haven't. You guys are about to go on tour with Alkaline Trio, which see you in Seattle. It's gonna be a great time. You have obviously we've seen the rig rundowns. Anyone watching this has probably seen the rig rundowns with you.
Yep.
When you're choosing a guitar, do you have any guitars that you will never take out on tour, or are you from the side of the fence of they all need to be played? I don't care what it is. I'm going to take them out and sweat all over them. Where do you sit in that school of thought?
Well, I in principle, I have no problem taking out anything that I have. But here, a good example is this: Les Paul Juniors, which have which actually on this Alkaline Trio Bad Religion tour, I'm pretty sure I'm just going to be back to Juniors pretty much the whole time.
Cool.
I was flirting around with humbuckers for maybe the end of 2019 and through COVID, but I don't know. There's something about the P90. So I have a couple of vintage Juniors that I have out there, and they're all husks that have had new electronics, and one's been broken and fixed, and they're kind of thrash. I have one here at home that's a 57 that's in really perfect shape, and I'm like, okay, well, I can play this too. But the thing is it's not, the ludicrous ceramic magnet Duncans that I have in the ones that are out on tour. Like, this guitar doesn't sound like that. This guitar is a really good 57 Junior. And I'm in a band called Beach Rats, local band here in Asbury Park. And I played one show and I just brought that guitar and I fucked the shit out of the back. Like, in one show, I just managed to like peel off this swath of, of finish from the back. And it's like, you forget how fragile those guitars are. Like, the finishes just fall off.
Yeah.
So basically, like, it's, especially with this ludicrous post-COVID inflation, this is now,
True.
a $10,000 guitar because it's in perfect shape.
Of course.
I don't need to prove a point by beating the shit out of it. Like, what it's for is when the ones I have now are dead and can no longer, like when the truss rods don't work, or they've disappeared, or there's been some kind of, huge, horrible damage, then I have a fresh one that I will, of course, play and abuse. But until then, I'm going to leave that here in New
Would you
Jersey.
would you grab that one, or would you just get some really nice VOS from Gibson or something like that?
Well, actually, I have another 55 here too. That's not quite as nice as the 57. So
Okay, that one's next. That one's on deck, and then
that one's actually
yeah.
on deck. But for the purpose of our discussion, I keep pointing to it because it's sitting on the wall.
No, yeah, that's cool. Okay, that's cool. I love that you use. It's just the bare bones. I just got a guitar from. I'm a Music Man artist, and I just got a single bridge pickup after watching you just do the single P90 thing, and it's just there's something to be said about just whatever you need. There's no switches. I mean, oh my god, I can't remember his name. He has a Music Man guitar. Steven from All.
Yeah. Yes.
There's not even any volume on his guitar. There's nothing. It's completely blank, so it's on all the time. Like, that's a little far, but I love.
Stefan's a weirdo, and he's done that with his old guitars too. I mean, Bentley does the same thing in our band. No knobs,
Does he?
Nothing, and so I don't know. It's part of his aesthetic.
Yeah, I need a volume at least, but
Me too.
Much respect to them.
And much respect to them. Yeah.
I could be remembering this wrong, but back in the 90s, I had a magazine and you were interviewed and you were asked what your favorite guitar at that moment was. And I am pretty sure you said, and you were photographed with a silver Sparkle Les Paul that was a factory second stamped on the back, that you were really in love with at the time. This would have been Gray Race, No Substance time frame.
Yeah.
Do you remember that guitar? If you don't, it's all good. That was
it a custom or a standard? It was a custom.
I think it was a custom.
I do too. I have no idea what I did with that guitar.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I forgot that I owned it. You just reminded me.
Yeah, you were
I know.
photographed
I see
with
it clearly. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it was kind of yellowed. It was yellowed, and it was rare, and of course, at that time in my life, I just didn't get it. So.
Okay, I always thought that was a really, really cool guitar. And
I still do too. I wish I had it. How cool is that? A silver.
So cool. Yeah, because I mean, at the time, you had guys like Chris Cornell in the Soundgarden videos with the sparkle jets, the Gretsch stuff, and it was kind of along the lines of that, but it wasn't. I had that Les Paul aesthetic, and it was super, super cool. I don't want to keep you too long. The last thing I wanted to talk to you about was the Do What You Want book. I enjoyed that book so much, and I thought it was really, really cool of you, all of you, to be as candid as you were. And reading it actually reminded me, I don't know if you watch rock documentaries at all.
I watch every single one that I can get my eyes on.
Okay, so do I. It reminded me a lot of the Eagles documentary in that you guys had you just were kind of spitting it out in the book. What was that like, as far as sitting down and going, okay, did you learn anything from this process? Did you learn anything from your bandmates? Like, wait, what? I didn't know that story. Or
yeah, for sure, I did. I mean, we were all talked to. Jim Rulin wrote the book, and Jim Rulin just spent so much time with us, and I talked to him on numerous occasions. He came on the road with us for a while, and I just was all about full disclosure. I mean, there's nothing, there's really nothing to hide here. Right. And I think all of us took our interviews with Jim that way, and it was really cool reading the book when it was done, is that I learned all this stuff about Brett that I didn't know, because I've spent less time with Brett, obviously, than the rest of the guys. Of course you did.
Right.
And so it was really fascinating. His journey, I thought was great. And I mean, I think this book is, if you're a fan, it's really an awesome window into the band. I mean, I was kind of hoping for to have some, make some literary mark, kind of like something in the Trouble Boys world, that kind of thing. But I think the purpose this serves is exactly appropriate, and it's very interesting.
Yeah, I think
if you're a fan,
I found it very interesting. I wouldn't expect you guys to even do a book. To be totally honest with you, like when you guys announced it, I was like, wow, okay, this is either going to be real rounded over, real kind of like surface, or they're going to go fairly deep. Like, at the time, like when Bobby left the band or something like
Yeah.
that, like early internet, you had no idea why he left. It was just like, oh, okay, well, he's gone now. Like, why? Like,
He's gone now. Why? Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
that kind of
also look, I
stuff.
mean, the band's this book. We wrote it because we knew we were coming on 40 years of the band,
Yeah.
and to be a band for 40 years of any size is a fucking miracle.
Yes.
And I think that's interesting. And I would
Agree.
read. Would I read that book? Yes, I would. And
Yeah.
that's kind of that's the criteria we used. Just like, yeah, this would be cool. People would like to know about this.
Yeah. It was very, very awesome. I really enjoyed it. And thanks for signing my copy. I mean, I'm going to pretend like you signed it for me, but thanks for signing my copy. I really appreciate
I'm
it.
glad you got one of the few copies that I signed
I did.
that
Yeah.
were on that long table when everyone was standing there signing them. I'm glad you got one.
Oh, did you not? Do they let you just go? I'm done now. I don't want to.
No, no, no. We
Okay.
wanted to sign a bunch of them, and it was funny because we none of us live near each other, so
Of course.
you're shipping these huge boxes of books from house to house, and it was fun.
Yeah, that's cool. Last but not least, on an old trading card from your junkyard days, it said that you collect Coca-Cola memorabilia. Do you still collect Coca-Cola memorabilia?
No, I don't. I don't drink Coke.
Okay.
I don't. That was from so long ago. I mean, I think it was Coca-Cola was for me in association with straight edge and Washington D.C. And if you look at
Oh,
the early years of DC hardcore,
yeah.
Coca-Cola is a theme, and it was because it was our alternative beverage to beer.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
I, oh, wow.
right. So it was more about like, okay, I'm on Team Coca-Cola instead of Team Budweiser. And I
Oh,
collected Coke stuff in that sense, like wore Coca-Cola T-shirts, but I wasn't going to auctions and trying to get a better sign from 1939. Like I
right.
never
Okay.
never did that. But yeah, once I stopped drinking soda, I didn't really care. And I have a Coca-Cola tattoo. Uh,
That is pretty cool.
right. So I'm
Wow.
covered. Like, why do I
Literally.
need,
Yeah. You were literally covered.
miniature bottles or matchbooks? I don't.
Yeah.
I got one.
Okay. Do you have, this is the last thing I'll ask you and I'll let you go. What is your favorite recorded guitar tone from someone else? And what is your own favorite recorded guitar tone that you have recorded?
That's an excellent question. Well, recorded guitar tone from someone else is Malcolm on Power Ridge.
Oh, good choice.
That's it. I mean, just play that loud
That's good
through a
choice.
reasonable system and just listen to Malcolm. It's it's so great how clean it is, but yet how mean it is.
Yeah.
He's just one of my absolute favorite guitar players. So
I
great.
I named him the greatest rhythm guitar player to ever pick up the instrument on a list that I made with someone else on someone else's channel. I said
Right.
Malcolm Young was
You are correct.
the end all.
So there's yeah.
Yeah.
As far as my guitar sound, I think uh, I have to say it's going to have to be. There's a Bad Religion record called No Substance
Mm-hmm.
that really didn't have much. It was, the most aptly named the Bad Religion LPs, but it's got this great guitar sound on it that is, it's
does.
just. I mean, my sound is almost always the same, but there was just something about the way we did this and when we did it, that I got this really amazing tone for this No Substance record. So that might be it.
Do you remember
I
what
mean,
you used?
yeah, I used a Les Paul and a Marshall. It's just where was the mic?
Yeah. Yeah.
What was the humidity? We
Right.
had a great guy named Alex Perialis who was producing and recording with us at that time, and we recorded it in Ithaca, New York. And it was just that they just wound up being when I was relearning old songs we don't play anymore for the decades, this No Substance stuff came up and in the queue, and I'm like, whose guitar sound is this? It's really good. So I suggest anyone who's curious, check out that record.
It's very, very good. Brian, thank you so much for hanging out. I don't want to take up too much of your time. Thank you so much for nerding out. And
Sure.
if anyone wants to actually go hear Brian and Bad Religion, check them out on tour in October with Alkaline Trio.
Yep.
It's going to be a great time. I will be there. You should be there too. And not you, because you are obviously going to be there.
I'm gonna go.
The viewer.
This one I'm gonna make it there for. I'm
You know
looking
what?
forward to playing live music in front of live people. It's gonna be a real. It's just gonna be such a joy. We've missed it so much.
Is there any amount of, I don't know, for lack of a better term, a PTSD that comes along with playing shows again after all of this for you?
Well, we'll find out.
You're going to play from the side of the stage in a bubble, and you guys are going to be like very Spinal Tap, kind of trying to break out of the...
I think no. I am so raring to go. I just can't wait.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun to dance around in my rehearsal room, but come on.
Yeah,
It's
agree.
not the same thing.
Yeah, we leave for tour next month, and I just like, come on, let's go.
For sure.
So,
Well, I hope you enjoy it.
well, thank you very much. I will see you in Seattle in October. Thank you so
Great.
much for your time, Mr.
Sure.
Baker. And with that, we're going to get out of here, ladies and gentlemen. I'll see you later. If you liked the video you just watched, please consider subscribing. And if you want to further support me and what I do, consider using some of the affiliate links down below in the description of this video. Go on over to Sweetwater, buy yourself something, and help me out at the same time. It's a win-win for both of us.